it is a good afternoon. We have a chance to pay tribute and remember Billy today. Now, Bill liked to go off script a lot. I'm not that gifted. I'll have to stick mostly with the script today. But like many of you, I could speak for hours about Bill. However, I'm told I do have a time limit, Karen, imposed on my remarks. But in keeping with Bill's legacy, I do not plan to abide by that time limit. I'll go with what Bill used to tell me when I was his producer. He'd hand me a script for one of his commentaries, and I'd say, "Billy, how long is it?" And he'd reply, "As long as it takes, Al. As long as it takes." That was Billy. Now, Bill, I know you're listening. So given the venue this afternoon, there are a few other restrictions on me today. No off-color remarks, no jokes about sex or race or heritage, religion, Catholics, and certainly not the Pope. Just as well, because I couldn't match your delivery or that twinkle in your eye. It's been 36 years since I first walked into the Channel 7 newsroom. As Bill described me, that skinny, snot-nosed kid who thought he could write but proved otherwise most every day. He tested me like he did every newcomer to his kingdom. And believe me, the newsroom belonged to him. Yes, our galaxy was full of stars. Eric, Jimmy Harrington, Van Marshall, Dave Dials, Diana, Kelly, Turner, Hodak, Lagoff, Robbie, Don Shane, the list goes on. He was the superstar, and he knew it, and we knew it, and every sales manager and station manager and bean counter in Southfield, New York, and Cincinnati knew it too. All of you here today know Bill's story, or much of it. As a kid, no classroom could hold his curiosity, his capacity for learning so great. His teachers had to come up with new ways to keep him interested. That intellect, that pursuit of knowledge, the need to know, to verify, to get at the truth that never wavered, it made him a great newsman. And like all great men and women, he never gave up on his dream. Bill started in radio and made his bones at Keener 13 with other greats like Phil Nye. But he knew where he belonged, and after failed interviews at Channel 4 and Channel 2, and what the heck were they thinking? He got his big break at Channel 7. In those years, local TV news was mostly an afterthought. It was just beginning, but it was the right time, at the right place, and he was the right guy. A few years later, he was the focal point, the man Channel 7 built a news team around, and he helped make it the best in the country. Bill just connected. He had a style that could not be duplicated, and believe me, the consultants tried. They sent his tapes all over the country to news directors and promising young anchor men. Bill loved his airtime and the viewers, and they loved him too. Informed, dedicated, genuine, viewers immediately knew that he cared about the news of the day. He had a special relationship with the people of Detroit, like no other anchor or reporter ever has or probably ever will. He felt a responsibility to those viewers. He made sure all of us who worked for him and with him felt it as well. I want to say something now to those people, the writers, producers, directors, editors, cameramen and women, assignment editors, engineers, reporters, who work closely with Bill. How lucky are we? We got to see him every day. We shared those moments of greatness, the immense talent, the laughs, and yes, the lows. He was our Billy, brilliant and bombastic, sometimes angry and unforgiving, unpredictable and impulsive, but never boring and always pushing us. Yes, the caution lights would be flashing some days when he walked in that newsroom. Who wrote this? Or, the next time I see a script like this, I'm going to light it on fire. It'll make for better television than reading it. He got our attention. But he had courage, too. He never backed down to anyone, asking tough questions no other anchorman would think of, let alone dare ask. He didn't suffer fools or public officials gladly. He had a real passion for news. He aspired to be the best, and he wanted all of us, he demanded all of us, try to be the best. I also recall the quiet moments when he would sit down with a writer to explain how a script could have been better, or spend time with a reporter who needed help with a story. He could be so generous. And we all learned from him. As much as we loved and needed him, I know how much he loved and needed us too. Bill gave us more than ratings and stature. Those are fleeting. He gave himself, and he enriched each of our lives. I say without hesitation that whatever measure of success I had in broadcasting, I owe to his guidance, support, and the friendship that Bill gave to me. There are a lot of people in this room, I think, who feel the same way. Yes, he embraced his celebrity. It helped fuel his fire. On the air, he was theatrical and over the top sometimes, but that's one of the reasons we love to watch him. Gifted people know how far they can go, and most of the time, Bill knew his limits. His imperfections only strengthened our loyalty. Some of his critics, they just had a job to do, I know. Others were cruel and unfair. Bill would be the first to admit he gave them more than enough ammunition. Still, the criticism hurt him, no matter how often he tried to deflect it. And that brings us to his family, who had to share a very public man. John, Mary, Christine, Skippy, Karen, Brother Bob, you all have our admiration. Living with a superstar must have its peaks and valleys. Despite his bravado, I know he counted on your love and support every day of his life. After my kids came along, Bill and I talked more and more about family, and he was so proud of all of his children. TV may have fed his ego, but he needed your approval and your love to feel something other than the star anchorman, and you gave it to him. When I got the call from Karen Saturday, I was stunned, but I knew the dreaded day would come. Bill was knocked down a lot, but like a great champion, he refused to be knocked out. In these last few years, he showed real courage and determination. His passing brings to mind a quote from someone that Bill admired, Mark Twain. Twain said, "The fear of death follows from the fear of life. The man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time." Bill Bond certainly didn't fear life, and he lived it to the max. I think he did recognize the significance of his life. All he had to do was remember where he came from, to think back to all his friends and colleagues who said it was an honor to know or work with him. Bill could look into the faces of his children to see how much he was loved. He could look into the eyes of his wife, Karen, and see the devotion. So today's not goodbye. He'll always be with us. That smile, that laugh, those piercing baby blues, the words of encouragement and wisdom. Those gifts from him go on forever. So it should come as no surprise that Bill's heart gave out last Saturday, because in the end, he gave his heart to all of us who loved him.